Hi, good afternoon. My name is Liliana Aguayo. I'm a research assistant professor at Emory University in the Department of Global Health. I'm being joined by Dr. Wang, who's one of the PIs of the Champion trial. And today he will tell us a little bit about the Champion trial. I don't want to kind of preempt anything, so go ahead. Would you please share a little bit about the fundamentals of the trial?
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Nae-Yuh Wang. I'm a associate professor at Johns Hopkins. Our group has been conducting behavioral health interventions in people with battling mental illness for a while now. And the Champion trial is the first one that we have conducted, focusing on youth with serious emotional disturbance, or SEDs. We know that there are greater than 5 million youths in the US have this condition, and 1/3 of them are using antidepressants or taking antipsychotic medication, which has the potential for weight gain. And then we also know that youth with SED often progress to have mental illness later in life, and adults with mental illness have high rates of CVD risk factors and premature mortality. That's why we think it's very important to devise effective interventions to combat obesity in youth with SEDs.
Yeah, definitely a population of great risk that should be addressed in all of these interventions and policies to make sure that we reduce the exacerbated risk that they have due to the medications and the mental health problems. I wanted to ask you about how long was the trial and when did you start it? I understand that the trial was undergoing when the pandemic hit. So can you tell us a little bit about the story or your experience?
Yeah, the trial is aimed to enroll 120 participants and randomize with equal allocations to 2 arms. And then the primary outcome is the BMI Z-score, which is accounting. It's sex and age specific, so it's more comparable across this wide age range of our study participants. The age range is from 8 to 18 years of age. And so the follow-up period is for 1 year. And then we have finished our recruitment before the pandemic started. But then not all the participants completed their follow-up during the pandemic. So we were challenged by the COVID pandemic, and we have to modify the intervention and data collection protocol to address the challenge posed by the pandemic.
Yeah, and for the results, it sounds like you did a wonderful job at doing these modifications. Would you like to share a little bit about what you found? What were the results of the trial?
Yes, we powered the trial to detect a 0.1 BMI Z-score difference between the intervention and control arm over a 12 months period. So this is the difference in difference kind of amount of 0.1 Z-score. And we actually observed a 0.15 difference, which is statistically significant. We think that that's a very meaningful difference. I think for youth, it's very hard to think about the weight and the BMI because the different at different age, the growth spurs, and then the change in stature and puberty, and then the stopping of the changes. So there's a difference between male and female. So that's why we use the BMI Z-score, which sort of account for the age and the sex as a global measurement as the primary outcome. So what does that 0.15 SD change sort of translate into a easier understandable unit? So I think it's about 1.34 BMI between group difference over 12 months. The intervention group had a 1.34 greater reductions in BMI. That's kilogram in meter square.
Yeah, no, and that's not an easy accomplishment. That's a huge improvement, especially considering that obesity in younger ages tends to aggravate with older age. So definitely wonderful results. What do you think are some of the implications, or what do you think your findings suggest for the future health of young people, especially people with serious mental illness?
We did observe that working with youth with SED in a thoughtful way, which we put in a lot of thought to develop our intervention. I think if we and then the result demonstrate that it's actually effective, and then also the intervention involve counseling to parents, and then to create a supported environment at home. So that actually become even more important during a pandemic period such as COVID, when most of us get stuck at home. And then we are very excited about our results. And then we think the next step is really trying to translate these results and trying to implement it in a broader sense.
Well, thank you so much for this meaningful trial. I think that is always very inspiring to me with researchers like you who are having such a meaningful impact on the field of cardiovascular disease prevention and also obesity prevention, particularly in youth. I think that a lot of us feel very inspired and motivated to see that change is possible, and that there are so many people that are putting the time and effort to improve the health of the young people.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our results and to have this conversation. I'm honored to represent my team and my collaborators, my colleagues, to present these results. It's teamwork, and then a lot of people put in tremendous efforts into it. And then the participant and the families, we also thank them for their contributions. Thank you.